What is the topic that you're interested in researching?
I am researching how listening and storytelling can work towards creating a culture responsive environment in educational leadership.
And what sort of led you to that topic?
My personal experience of feeling marginalized in the education system as a leader in the school district.
Yeah, I can imagine in a
Being
very,
a visible minority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very white male dominated spaces in education.
And seeing all these white men go up and up and up and not understanding the reason.
Well, don't look at the pay grids because that's. So, what experiences made you be interested in this topic?
Just, being an immigrant, and having to learn English from scratch. I didn't know the alphabet, when I moved here at age 10. And balancing two different cultures, Canadian culture and my Korean heritage, and trying to understand how I fit in both, right? And I was able to travel and live in different places around the world and experience education system in Nepal, in England, and in Korea, and in Canada, which I teach right now. That has added to this perspective of the importance of culture responsiveness.
I think a lot of systems try to be like culturally responsive, but then without having that like actual cultural experience, like, well,
Yeah.
how is that valid? What you're
Yeah.
trying to do? Yeah. Can you share any specific experience that made you realize you need to research this topic?
Oh, yeah. I just was mistreated at my work. And I felt like I couldn't be me, authentic me, and I had to hide a bit of myself in order to fit into this idea of what vice principals should be like.
Yeah.
And I got sick of it. I was done. Like, no, I need people to accept me for who I am. And to me, that is what I mean by culturally responsive.
Yeah.
It's not about focusing on a culture, indigenous culture or Korean culture. It's just having that acceptance of everyone has different cultural background. And that culture can be queer.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily always associated with a nation.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to explore.
I felt very connected to your explanation there. With this culture is more than just like country based. Yeah. Yeah. So why do you think this is an important area to research?
Because I don't want other visible minorities or people who are marginalized to have to navigate the world with such struggle and barriers and walls, and we're just having to work 3 times as harder than anybody else in order to belong. And I'm just sick of it. And I need this awareness to be present with other people who are in power or in position of power, so that at least they can have an understanding of what it's like for us.
So then from that, like, why do you think others would be interested in this topic?
I think people who are marginalized would be interested in the topic, and those in power, position of power, I think they initially will not be genuinely interested, but I think they would be interested on the surface because of the current political climate.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we tug at those heartstrings and get like actual empathy to come.
That's the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the problem you feel this study is addressing? I think you've spoken to it
like
already.
systematic racism, discrimination, gender discrimination, any sort of discrimination, nepotism.
Yeah. The list is too long.
The list is too long.
So who might you research to explore this topic or question?
I'm going to collect stories from individuals who are, who categorize themselves in the marginalized population, such as LGBTQ, visible minorities, indigenous people, or people with different abilities, etc., and collect their personal stories where they experience a situation where they felt safe enough to be who they are and truly be seen and heard by an individual or a group of people.
Yeah, that'll be some powerful stories. Absolutely. Last question is, what are some ways that you could represent the research?
I want it to be a book of stories. You know, because I want to do my research using the First Peoples principle of learning and indigenous methodology, where I am not the expert in telling people this is what I found in my research and this is what you need to do to change the system. It's going to be, here are the stories, and here is what I noticed. These are the themes that I can help you connect. So that's what's the word? No,
Métissage.
Métissage.
Yeah.
Again, another very unfriendly word for an English learner.
Yeah.
And why do we always use French words? Like in dance, I'm learning dance, and all the poses are French words. Like, why?
Because they're colonizers too.
Anyway, that's off topic.
Yeah.
Collect stories, and I want the audience to pull out what resonates with them, because it's about building relationship and making connections and reaching the heart, and that is only way you can reach the heart, not through facts and data, because people already know the data and facts. People know in Victoria there's only a handful of visible minorities in the education system as leaders, and they're still not doing anything about it. So it's got to be the stories.
Yeah, that'd be a great like coffee table book or something that's like actually more easily accessible.
And I want to take down the academia and their view of what research is. Like, why do I have to put in an abstract? Why do I have to tell you all these do? Like, I just want to share stories, and that should be enough.
And scene.